Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Good evening, good evening, good evening to you. All of you Guyanese who are now joining. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, brothers and sisters. Good evening to you, my brothers. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Moors, like myself, who are now joining in on this special and auspicious occasion. Uh, oh, yes, let me put you on the radio too. So, to those who are now joining via the live stream, this is Dr. Matthews-Bey on the Voice of the Nation, and I am welcoming you also on the GMS Live radio station, the GMS Live Radio Guyana. Good evening to you. Tonight is a very special occasion. Somebody broke the 11th commandment, and I'm going to talk about it. So, you who are known on the Corporation of Guyana, Guyanese, you can you can bug your fellow Guyanese, send them a message, let them know that Dr. Matthews is on the air. We can talk about Jack Dio in the first session. I didn't want to, but somebody said, man, look at the video, talk about it, let us see what we can do, you know. And I didn't look at the one with him and the other guy that had the live press briefing today, right? I didn't look at that one. I don't really pay attention to that one. It doesn't make sense. I looked at the video that they sent me. Somebody sent me the video, and I got it on the internet with Mr. Norton and Mr. Jack Dio. So I am going to talk about that, and I'm going to use the Constitution. The thing is that Jack Dio broke the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not be caught in the Habnakuch. That's where he was caught. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to expound upon it because apparently they didn't know about the Representation of the People's Act when Order 60 came out. Now he's quoting the Representation of the People's Act. So wonderful. He has broke the 11th commandment. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to go on to my Moorish brothers and sisters, the Moors, because we Moors are very much, according to history, we are the creators of the world's civilizations. So we wrote law, we know what is it about. Law is, and we were saying especially how you got to mind what you're saying, because what you say, it becomes law. That's what they charge you or try you upon, what comes out of your mouth. So Islam, to you, my brothers and sisters, the Moors, Islam means, to those who doesn't know, I self-law am master. So good evening to you all. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey coming to you live from Guyana and the Caribbean Isles, the West Indian Isles, and in the diaspora and around the world. Welcome to you all. And I gotta say Caribbean, I gotta stop saying Caribbean Isles and West Indian Isles. Welcome to Central America. North, South, and Central America. Welcome to you all in the Americas and the diaspora and around the world. Now, send send the live stream. Send the live stream. Yes, good evening to you all. Good evening. I know tonight a lot of persons wants to tune in to see what the constitutionalists that they used to call me a couple of months ago, Mr. Matthews, is going to say about it. And they called my phone. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really want to talk about it because I'm tired of talking about a system that intends to enslave you. But now I'm going to poke fun at it. I'm going to make fun of it because it's a lot of jiggery poogery. So, what I'm going to do for you this evening to those who are now tuning, and I'm going to make sure. Yes, and good evening to you all those who are. I'm going to call you by your first name and not your last. Good night, Yon. Good night, Cherry. Good night. Was it Avril? And Cherry, I just want to say that it is Dr. Matthews Bay. Please don't forget the BEY. I want you to make sure that you identify me by my title because I'm no longer Guyanese citizen or Guyanese citizenship. I no longer have my Guyanese citizenship. So I'm independent of the Corporation of Guyana, and I've taken up my title as a Moorish American. Okay? So to those who are now joining, please don't forget it is Dr. Gavin Matthews Bay. So I'm going to make sure that I quote the Constitution piece by piece. Can you remember when this, hold on, wait. Okay, when this fiasco started in 2020, when the Constitution was amended and okay, it looks like I'm back. Yes. I was kicked off a bit. I think it took nearly about a minute, half a minute, but I'm back on. So welcome to those who are now joining. Black Love, is it? Black Love, this program comes to you with the kind compliments of Black Love. Black Love is to stand against the shadow government, systematic oppression, systematic enslavement, systematic racism, all these things that are part of a democracy. Black Love stands against that. So, Black Love to you all. The brand is being sold on instruments and on clothing material, which you can purchase at 30 US dollars each or 6,000 Guyana dollars for one. It depends. If you're in Guyana or you're overseas, that is the price. And I want to thank you very much for supporting it. There was somebody that contacted me about a month ago, and I received some monies from them. I kindly lost your information for a Black Love T-shirt. I know you're looking at the program, so please kindly call me. I think it's your daughter or niece that you gave the money to, so I can collect it. And I got the product, but I just cannot seem to find the information on the phone. So kindly make contact with Dr. Gavin Matthews Bay so I can be able to to supply your product that you had paid for. So thank you very much to all those who are looking. Yes, so we got to get to the program. Now, the Constitution that I'm going to read to you comes out from the Representation of the People's Act. Okay? The Representation of the People's Act of the Corporated or the Corporation of Guyana that I'm going to read to you to show you where your rights have been taken away from you, although it's an act. It doesn't really support you anyhow because your freedom is been taken from you from since you were a child. So you now have an act to stabilize you into slavery. So we're going to read that slave act to the general public, and I want you to listen very carefully. And I'm reading Articles 22, Representation of the People's Act, sections 47, 1 through 5. So to those who are looking, you can go to Google and you can just Google Articles 22, Representation of the People's Act, recount. That's what you got to put. Okay? Because if you put Article 22 of the Representation of the People's Act, it's not going to take you to the recount section. You got to put in recount on Google so it can take you to the section. So when I'm reading these sections to you, you can get to comprehend what is being said here in the program. So tonight, it's a wonderful night that you can get a normal thing, a piece of paper and a pen, and you can jot these information down, because at the end of the day, it really represents you who are in the corporation, and you who are being, your rights have been withhold from you, and those are your inalienable rights. So listen to the act. It says here in sections 47, recount by resident magistrate, not the chairperson of the Guyana Elections Commission, recount by magistrate. And this is what the law says that governs you there. Okay? It says here, if within 4 days after the day on which the returning officer has declared a candidate elected, it is made to appear, comma, on the affidavit of a credible witness to the resident magistrate thereafter described, that a returning officer in counting the votes has improperly counted or are improperly rejected any ballot papers, or has made an incorrect addition of the number of ballots cast for any candidate. And if the applicant deposits within the set period with the clerk of the court or such resident magistrate the sum of $40 as security for the costs of the candidate declared elected, the resident magistrate shall appoint a time within 4 days after the receipt of an affidavit to recount the said votes. We're going to get into that now. Remember, the rat who was speaking to Norton said, do you know that there is a law called the Representation of the People's Act? If most of you were looking at that video, remember, he said that, do you know? And I'm talking about that same video when they were the European Union Gala, whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't really matters to me, but whatever it is. He said to Mr. Norton, do you know that there's a Representation of the People's Act? There's a law called the Representation of the People's Act. He said, I want you, he was talking to Mr. Norton. He said, I want you to look up on it and see where, well, he gotta look farther, because I'm going to now edify the people who are in bondage by those same assertions. But he got scared, even to a jiggery pokery in the background said yes. And when you come with the law, you interpret it, come with your SOPs. Oh my gosh. Oh my Lord, these people, you could just laugh at them. So the first thing he did when he identified the Representation of the People's Act, he broke the 11th commandment, because he was not elected on the Representation of the People's Act. He was installed by an Order 60 that was outside of the Representation of the People's Act. Okay? So, so we're going to discuss the Representation of the People's Act, because he asks Mr. Norton to go check up the representation, a law professor, by the way. That's how I see him, as a political science. Is actually, because it's actually what? Part of law. If you went to UG to study law, political science is one of it. So you're sending somebody who's edified within that particular realm of acts, codes, and conducts, or statutes, sorry. Sections 1 of 47 says that The only way you can approach the resident magistrate, it's if a credible, this is what it says. It said if it's a credible witness by affidavit, approach a resident magistrate thereafter described that a returning officer in counting the votes has improperly counted or no has improperly counted or improperly rejected any ballots by evidence. The affidavit got to be a credible witness who has that evidence showing that the returning officer has improperly counted or improperly rejected ballots. Remember when they took Mr. Mingo? Remember when they took claimant Mingo to court during that process of the declaration and said he rigged the election? There weren't no evidence. Anil Nandalal was the man who took him to court. The magistrate there and after said, no, sorry, the magistrate, or was the judge? I think it was the judge who thereafter said, well, look, there is no proper evidence stating that this man rigged the election. The only thing I can say, in the manner in which he declared his district, was not in proper with the regulations of his office. So she said to Mr. Mingo, look, go back and declare your your district properly according to the instructions of the institution in which you hold. So that was kicked through the door. Good. We go in step by step. Sections 2, it says, the resident magistrate to whom the application under this section may be made shall be the resident magistrate for the parish, the parish in which is situated the place whereat the declaration of the elections was made. Oh my gosh. Something happened there, boy. Claudette Singh now get catch. Here why she got catch. She took over this position which a resident magistrate supposed to have. The law says, not Gavin Matthews, I didn't read this part. I took my time and read it today. I was reading it, yes, but I was just stifling out everything. But they said you have to read it line upon line and precept upon precept to understand it. Sections 2 of sections 47 says, read it back again, the resident magistrate to whom the applications under these sections may be made shall be the resident magistrate for the parish in which is situated the place whereat the declaration of the elections was made. That means she now becomes in charge of that place because there was a discrepancy. Not the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, not the chief elections officer, the resident magistrate. Yes? Good. You know, some of y'all gonna get me vexed with up on this, on this what's on this comment section tonight. Start listening and stop talking ignorance. I'm very serious. Start listening. Start comprehending what I'm saying. Because apparently, like, I'm not getting through to some people. You need to start comprehending. I'm very, very serious. Because these people are taking away your rights. Your inalienable rights. Good. Now, the chief elections officer nor the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission no longer be in charge of that place of declaration, which was the returning office, if a recount was thereby given. So first thing, there were sections of the Constitution was being violated. One of them, and it's a capital punishment, it's treason. One of them, the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission suddenly took over, suddenly gave herself wide range powers and take over what a resident magistrate supposed to have been in place for. That's one. Number two, she directed the chief elections officer to declare an elections based upon Order 60, which was implemented by her. That's two. We now go to sections 3. Section 3 says if application for a recount of the votes in 2 or more constituencies are made under this section to the same resident magistrate, such resident magistrate shall first proceed with the recount in the constituency in respect of which the first application is made to him. That means to say, the chief elections officer and the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission are no longer, by law, have no responsibility for a recount. It doesn't fall under them. The resident magistrate has that power, not the resident judge. The resident magistrate has that power. He or she is now in charge of the declaration of these constituencies or one constituency, not Gavin Matthews. It is the law of the sea that says that constituencies in respect of applications were laid before the chief elections officer Gavin, when you on fire, this clip you on back. When I'm on fire, when I'm on fire, my gosh, I'm on fire. I'm lit. Purple. Edification to a people that does not have knowledge of the laws that govern them. Good. So it says that the chief magistrate, no, sorry, it says that the resident magistrate in which the application is filed or applications are filed under now becomes the person who is in charge of all these constituencies of recounting officers in declaring their account information of the election or tabulated account information of the elections properly under her guide or his or her guide. That's the position. And why it is her position is because the parliament, the lawmakers, made it such to place such powers in her hands. Remember, this is before this happened in a declaration of the returning officer, not a declaration of the chief elections officer. Because if the chief elections officer returning account information is not good, well, then you have to wait until a swearing of a president via way of an elections petition. Okay, good. Now we're going to go to the other one. It says here the resident magistrate shall appoint and given written notice to the candidates or their agents of a time and place in which he will proceed to recount the votes. Not Claret Singh, not Keith Lowenfield, not what's his name, Mingo. The resident magistrate shall do that. The laws said that. And where should it be counted? In the constituencies in which those votes were casted. That's where the recount must happen. Under the watchful eyes of the resident magistrate who now instructs the returning officer on those recount procedures. We're coming to that now. Section 5, it says, the resident magistrate shall summon the returning officer. Hear what it says? The resident magistrate shall summon the returning officer and his election clerk to attend at the time and place so appointed with the parcels containing the used and counted and unused, the rejected and the spoilt ballot papers. Not me. It's what Gavin. Now it's what Gavin Matthews says with the law. Your law says. Right? Good. Or the original statement of poll signed by the resident officers as the case may be, which with respect or in consequence of which such recount is to take place. It never said Keith Lowenfield. It never said Claret Swing. This is what it says. It says the resident magistrate shall summon. Summon. Etymology of the word. Call attention to. Bring you to the attention of duties that you have to proceed. I now instruct you, so I'm summoning you. That's what it means. Shall summon the returning officer and his elections clerk to attend at a time and place so appointed with the parcels. Parcels. Here, what is the parcels? Parcels containing the used and counted, the unused, the rejected, and the spoilt ballot papers. Those are the parcels. Or the original statement of poll signed by the presiding officers. Why do they have to bring those parcels? This is why they have to bring those parcels. As the case may be, with respect to or in consequence of which such recount is to be taken place. That's why they got to walk with the parcels. They got to do the recount process. Who shall overview such recount process? Not the chief elections officer, not the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. Y'all understand? Y'all comprehend what I'm saying? I hope you do. Now it goes on now, and I like section 6 and 48. Section 6 says, section 6 of 47 says, every candidate shall be entitled to be present and to be represented by an agent at any proceedings under this section. So all the recount process of Order 60 was illegal because sections 22 cannot be inactive. You cannot activate sections 22 because the declaration of the chief elections officer was already made. If the chief elections officer did not declare, well, then you could activate sections 22 because it says 4 days after a declaration by the returning officer, you can challenge it by the resident magistrate. That's what it says. So Jagdeo wanted Norton to study the representation of the People's Act based upon the recount procedures. Well, this is it. So y'all ain't out wait till Norton talk. Gavin Matthews telling you it now. Gavin Matthews-Bey, sorry. Dr. Matthews-Bey is now informing you. Yes. You know we Moors already. We Moors like to read. We like to do the research. It says here in sections 1 of 40, it says, the resident magistrate shall proceed to make such recount by recounting all the votes of ballot papers returning by the returning officer, and shall open the sealed envelopes containing the used and counted and the unused, the rejected and the spoilt ballots, not the chairperson. So she has violated the Constitution, and the Chief Justice acting has also violated the Constitution because she kicked it out through the door saying that the Chief Elections Officer has a wide range of powers. Well, boy, oh boy. I now see why they don't want the elections petition to come about, because all this information now has to be proceeded. Because since when the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission is the resident magistrate, since when such powers are vested into her, that is why the chief elections officer, when he declared, he said, "This is notwithstanding, this is not in the context of the Constitution, the Representation of the People's Act, that takes away the will of the people." That is why he said that in his declaration, because he wanted to inform us that this is the Constitution, not what Claudette Singh, Barrett Jagdeo, and David Granger were saying. You understand what I mean? That is why the question was asked by Mr. Norton, did you sign on? Did you make a contract? Did you sign on to that contract of the recounting procedures? No, we got 3 people we got sent to jail. Because she made order 16. She got them to sign on it. When her position is an independent constitutional position, should not supposed to be crafted by the executive and the opposition. Her position is independent. It's neutral. Well, by the way, it's in a democracy, so you got to expect this democratic way of life to be handled, to be given to you, the people, because you're subject to them. So whatever they say and do is law because you have voted for it. We can go to sections 2 now of 48. Sections 2 of 48 says, at every recount, the resident magistrate shall recount the vote according to the directions in this act set forth for the presiding officers at the close of poll. It didn't say the chief elections officer. So when Claudette Singh put the chief elections officer in charge of the recount, she knew that her position of directing him is unlawful and it's unconstitutional. But they ain't got nobody for they ain't got nobody for for charge them. So we ain't finished here yet. This is what section 2 continues to say. And shall verify or correct the statement of poll given the ballot paper recount and the number of votes given for each candidate. Who shall verify? The resident magistrate. Who is in charge? The resident magistrate. Good. And he shall also, if necessary or required, review the decision of the returning officer with respect to the rejection of any ballot papers or the number of votes given for the candidate at the time of polling of the time at any polling place where the ballot box used were not forthcoming when the returning officer made his decision. Who's in charge of that? The resident magistrate. Section 48, sections 2 of section 48 says that. Okay, good. Here the other part now. It says, where did I stop? Where did I stop? Polling place of ballot boxes used for not forthcoming return officer's decision. Oh, yes, and it says here, or when the proper statements of the poll were not found therein, and for the purpose of arrival at the facts as to such missing box and statements of poll, the resident magistrate shall have all powers. The resident magistrate shall have all powers. Why yaga lucky me na guy ni citizen no more? Cause when I don't read this tomorrow, I go out there and protest. But I'm an American now. I'm a Moorish American. I'm so sorry. I'd have gone out there and tear up the place. I didn't care if I get locked up a million times. But now I live with respect and love. So I'm reading this just to make sure what the Constitution says. The Constitution of the Corporate Republic of Guyana, the corporation, the Representation of the People's Act says that Jagdeo wanted Norton to go and review and come back. Y'all best, y'all best tag Jagdeo and leave watching me program right now, cause me waiting for Norton uh come and talk about it to have a public debate. The debate is here. When I don't read this on my phone, cause it's on my phone I'm reading it, y'all could call me and we can have that public debate. I want to switch Moors. I'm a little bit sorry, but I want to take some calls. I don't mind if you are calling too. I don't mind because my discussion tonight to y'all is status, jurisdiction, and jurisdiction, venue, and adjudication. So I want to make sure that I cover this part. Good. It says the resident magistrate shall have all powers of a returning officer with regard. You hear what the power is? He or she now has all powers of a returning officer, the resident magistrate, not low in field, not clouded swing, but when swinging in the swinger, up in the air and over the hill, up in the air so high. Remember, we learned that in school? And then after the poem, she bloomed like a seed from out of the ground, in the heart of a seed, very deep, so deep. A dear little plant lay fast asleep. Awake said clouded swing, and awake to the light. Wake said the voice of the raindrops bright, clouded swing her and rose to see. What a difference she has made in people's lives after the decision in 2020. All powers of a returning officer with regard to the attendance and examination of witnesses who, in case of non attendance, shall be subject to the same consequences as in case of refusal or neglect to attend on the summons of the returning officer. You remember the returning officer who walked away with the book in region 2, the registration of all those who registered to vote. And he left his post, he walked off. He is now subject to the law. So you see where everything went overboard, and all our politicians accept that lawlessness. That's why they should never be in parliament. That all that shenanigan that took place is illegal. They're already illegal. They're de facto, it's a domicile government. I don't understand why people are talking to them. Yeah, I best tag these Covorvamite cockroaches and let them know that Dr. Bay, Matthews-Bey, is deferring to the Constitution. And I ain't finished yet. I ain't finished yet. It says here in sections 3 of 48 of Articles 22, Representation of the People's Act and the recounting process, it says here, if in course of a recount, any ballot paper is found with a counterfoil states attached thereto, the resident magistrate shall remove and destroy such counterfoil. He shall not reject the ballot by reason merely of the presiding officer's failure to remove the counterfoil, nor shall he reject any ballot paper by reason merely of a presiding officer's failure to affix his initial to such ballot paper. Y'all hear what the resident magistrate got powers of? Y'all hear all these powers of the resident magistrate? Not the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission, not the six commissioners of the Ghana Election Commission, not the chief elections officer or the deputy chief elections officer, the resident magistrate who now controls all the constituencies. Before a declaration of the chief elections officer. Let me read sections 4 to you. It says the resident magistrate shall, as far as practicable, proceed continuously, except on Sunday with the recount, allowing only necessary adjournments for rest and refreshments, and excluding the hours between 6 o'clock in the afternoon and 9 in the succeeding full moon. Don't mean 6 o'clock in the afternoon, don't you got to come by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And that's what she's in charge of. It talks about all the duties of the resident magistrate when she's conducting a recount. Not the chief elections officer and not the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission. People, who is it? The resident magistrate. Hold on. Let me hear. I am Saunders hearing what is happening in Guyana. Oh, I want you to call him, but after I finish reading this here. Section 6. It says, and I'm talking about the powers of the resident magistrate. It says the resident magistrate shall personally supervise each parceling and sealing and take all necessary precautions for the security of such papers and documents. Documents. That's his or her position, whoever the resident magistrate is. 7. The resident magistrate shall thereupon declare the recount at an end, seal up all ballot papers in separate packages, and forthwith certify the results of the recount to the returning officer. Now the returning officer comes back into place now. It says, forthwith certify the results of the recount to the returning officer, which is now his position to declare, who shall forthwith in writing declare to be elected the candidate so certified as having the highest number of votes. Such declaration shall be communicated to candidates in the same way as prior declarations made under section 7, under subsection 7, of sections 45, and shall be deemed for all purposes to have been substituted therefore, whether it is the same as such prior declaration or different therefrom. Subsection 8. In case of an equality of votes and equality of votes, the returning officer, notwithstanding that he may have already voted pursuant to the subsections 8 of sections 45, shall have and cast another or deciding vote. Ooh, yeah. This is not Gavin Matthews. This is the Constitution, the Representation of the People's Act. This is not Gavin Matthews. I didn't read all this part, but now reading. It says here now in subsections 9, if the recount does not so alter the result of the poll as to affect the returning officer, the resident magistrate shall do A. Tax such cost following a closely as possible the tariff of costs allowed with respect to proceedings in the resident magistrate courts. Right? Now we go on to subsections 10. The monies deposit as security for the cost shall, as so far as necessarily, be paid out to the candidate in whose favor costs are awarded, and if the said deposit is insufficient, the party to whose favor the cost are afford which shall have his action for the balance 49 elections return. Don't bother with the 49. Now, so we just see in Articles 22 of the Representation of the People's Act, under sections 47 and 48, and we read all the subsections of 47 and 48, whereas all powers lies in a recount. And you know why Order 60 was created? Because the Chief Elections Officer would have already declared all 10 administrative districts. That is why the law now becomes, you couldn't go back to sections 22, Article 22, like what they were trying to quote. Claudette Singh was trying to quote Articles 22. So she couldn't act on Articles 22. She took out subsections of 47 and 48 of 22 and derived Order 60. You see what she did? She took out subsections. That means it's a violation to the Constitution. She has no right or wide-ranging powers to do so. She took out subsections of Articles 22. Subsections, sections 48, 47 and 48, she took out subsections of those two sections and created Order 60. And when it went to court, The Chief Justice acting Wiltshire lied to the Guyanese public. She lied. LIED, which becomes unconstitutional. She committed a treasonous act by declaring that the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission has a wide range of powers by her mind. These people, I'm telling you something. Oh my gosh, these people is something else. These people is something else. And you know what's amazing, Guyanese? The information that I just read to you came off the internet. Off the internet, oh my god. Oh, y'all don't feel sorry for yourself. Seriously. Oh my god. I got some Creoles now. Oh my god. You ain't feel sorry. You ain't feel sorry for yourselves. I mean, these people keep on taking away your rights. Jagdio was caught breaking the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not break the 11th commandment. What is the 11th commandment? Thou shalt not be caught in the Hapnukuch. And that's where he was caught. Trying to reason with Mr. Norton and tell him that he must go and study the You know, the amazing thing is that during the election time, they didn't want anything to do with the representation of the People's Act. You run along with Order 60, invite the world, and got Pompey, or whatever he name, telling Grange he must resign his position and give up because we got a new installed regime. I know you got Sarah Ann Lynch running around. Yes, the same US ambassador. Running around with the installed regime that she installed, that she helped install. And I'm going to tell you all why the Corporation of Guyana falls under the US, the United States. I can tell you why. But before I tell you why, let me say this to you. If what I said tonight, if all this thing that I took patience to read to you, to explain to you, that it wasn't the chief elections officer that was in charge of any recount, not supposed to be in charge of any recount. The chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission is not supposed to be in charge of any recount. It was a resident magistrate. And that recount could have only happened before the chief elections officer declares the tabulated votes. That is why I said what I said years ago when I was talking. A recount could only happen under the returning officer unless evidence were proceeded to. And it even tell you how a recount supposed to happen at the returning officer's level. Tells you how a recount supposed to happen. So the resident magistrate now becomes in charge of the recounting process. It never happened. Since when the chairperson of the Ghana Elections Commission becomes the powers vested in her to do so? It was not. The Constitution never states so. It never gave powers for an external electoral regime. So why Order 60? Why Order 60? seriously. And to those who are addressing me, I'd very much appreciate Dr. Matthews. And please don't forget Bay. I want you to constantly doing that because I'll remember to call myself Bay also too. And I'd very much appreciate it. My title is very important. I'm not a Guyanese citizen, so it'd be very much appreciated if you call me Matthews-Bey. I'm a Moorish American, an Aboriginal to the land America. So I hope this little time that I spent, this 1 hour that I've spent explaining to you the recount process in sections 22 in articles 22 of the Representation of the People's Act, in sections 47 and 48 and all the subsections in those sections, to explain to you the recount process. So to those who want, I post it online. I'm saying to you now, go to Google, or if you got a pen and a piece of paper, please write down this information. Write down Articles 22, Representation of the People's Act, recount. Please write that down. And it will bring to you the sections 22. You just got to read, you got different Articles 22, and you got to read all the sections. And when you come down to 48, no, 47, it tells you recount, and 48. So what you got to do now is flip the pages until when you meet in sections 5, sorry. They got sections, right? Sections of Article 22, sections 5, and in section 5 has sections 47 and subsections, sections 47 and 48 and subsections under that. That's what you need to read. So follow the guide. I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you. So to the other person who talking about, oh yeah, I must walk with your SOPs, put some sense in your brains and stop sounding like if you live in a sty. Because we don't want to throw pearls to swines. Put some sense into your head. The only place that holds the original SOP is GCOM. PNC, APNU does not hold the original SOP. They hold a copy of the original SOP that belongs to them. Each contesting parties has a copy of the original SOPs. And you can change whatever figure you want to change on it because it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to the state. The ones that belongs to the state is already in the possession of GCOM. GCOM know who was the declared winner of the elections. They knew that very well. Okay? So to those who are paying attention on this live stream, we should now comprehend. We should now comprehend where we're at. Good. So let us move on now to my fellow Moors who always tune in at a particular time. Anybody wants to call in pertaining to what I have just said, now is the right time. So we can have a further discussion and based upon the pleasurement of your comprehension. Okay? So those who would like to call in, you can call in. It doesn't matter. You can call in. So we want to talk about the continents of or the country or the land space America. What is America? America was the foundation of the Amalekites. The Amalekites are who you call Moors, or who you call indigenous, or who you call aboriginals. They were spread throughout the land of America. Okay? America starts from the top where Canada is, straight down to the bottom where Argentina is. continuance and all the islands surround it. So, to my Moors or to my Moors brothers and sisters who are studying this, we must comprehend that our status is based upon the identification of self. Who are you? I am an American. To those Aboriginals who are looking at this, no, I haven't left it yet. Okay, just hold on. Gavin, did you see how Norton pelt Brother Granger under the bus by implying that Abno had SOPs all the time and was it lying to his supporters all the while? Mr. Richard, let me tell you something. We know we gotta put some sense in our heads. Sometimes when we approach the conversation, we gotta put before we even start talking, let us put some sense in our heads. You got all the contesting parties lined up at the poll place of polls and their agents. Now, when you have an SOP, every contesting party receives a copy of an SOP. Oh, put some sense into your head, man. Oh, don't sound like if you don't got a clue what's going on. Put some sense in your head. It's common sense. Sit down and ask yourself, well, if the SOP is being posted outside the place of poll, they got two SOPs that I know of. One are being posted outside the place of poll, and one furnishes all the document when ballot boxes are closed. That's a piece of paper with all the files, books, and everything that goes to GCOM. There has an SOP in it, or outside of the folder itself, taped on. So hold on. Yes, very nice, Brian, Honorable Brian. I like how you put it out. It's very nice because at least I'm getting some help. Articles 22, sections 5, subsections 47 and 48. Right. And all the subsections on in those. Yes, thank you very much. So we need to put some sense into our heads. If we start thinking, don't let us depend upon each other to help us to start thinking. Let's start reading and comprehending and answer the questions we want to know. So anything that is difficult, we have an advanced conversation because we already comprehend what took place. We can't sit down and say, look how the wicked and the vindictive and the deceitful. And there's no honest politicians. As long as you can read and write, they're gonna walk all over you. Understand? As long as you can't comprehend what you read, other politicians gonna walk all over you. If you put me in a position and you use your position, you can't read, they gonna put a chain around your neck. You could suddenly become me slave because you know and you're ignorant. Well, woe be unto you from the if I'm the president. That's how it works. That's democracy. So now, my friend, we have to read. We got to start reading and comprehending. I'm very serious. I'm taking you halfway there. I'm taking you to the well, but I can only take you 50% to the well. You have to now approach the well with the next 50% in order to drink the water thereof, which is the water of life, the breath of life, knowledge. I can only take you there 50%. I can't just take you 100% there. Because if I take you 100%, now I'm going to do what the system is now doing to you. Taking you 100% there and they're taking away your rights because they're now educating you. Not educating or not edifying you. They're educating you. You now become an animal. So they treat you like cattle slavery. You now fall under acts and statutes, deeds, all these things. It's an epiphany, it's oblivion, it's imagination of one's mind. So when they try you, it's based upon your act. When you say, oh, yes, you identify yourself as a black man, it's no, the system is telling you that you're black. So when you accept that you're black, you now become a slave because you fall under the identification of the system, which is the corporation. Why you think they're now telling you that they don't have to hear the elections petition because you fall under acts and statutes and codes. So they don't have to present nothing to you. You can't handle it. You become ignorant because you know why you go and vote for the same powers vested not in you, in the people that you're voting for, that they call a democracy. And how they're acting is that what is expected of them to do, to act democratically because it's a democracy. Who you studying about RS60? Do like what the DJ said if you want to follow that. The DJ said, I don't know why Guyanese running around with political things. Oh, yeah. I like when my phone ring. A very pleasant good night to you. Welcome to Dr. Matthews-Bey Show, Voice of the Nation. Hello. Hello. Sound like I'm connecting. Oh. Well, normally once I miss a call, I will call back. So let me see if I can call back that number. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's telling me I'm on another call. Oh, my gosh. I hate this phone for this purpose. I hate this phone for this purpose. But to that person who's calling, I have to turn off and turn on back my phone. So give me a minute. So in this conversation, I'm going to add what I'm supposed to talk about tonight. So we cannot complain when these things are happening to us because we fall under their system of controllance. What you see, the thing is that we fall under their state to operate ourselves. And where is your lineage? Identify yourself. Who are you? Are you? Oh, brother. Hold on. Hold on. Just a minute. I gotta call. Yes, good night. I have to call you back on the phone because I think nobody will hear you when I speak to you from here. The microphone system is not set up, so I gotta call you back on my phone. Okay? Let me call you back right now. Right. So I gotta call back. Hold on. Believe you me. Oh my gosh. Call failed. Call is failed. Hmm. Here, these people proper smart. Hold on, wait. Wi-Fi is on. I don't know why call is failing. Oh, brother. Let me see if I get it. Oh, yes. Aha. Good night to you. Yes, yes. Good night to you.
It's been very edifying. It's been eye opening, and I want to thank God for Facebook because of Facebook we could learn a lot of things. Remember, the PPP could have hiding their dirty tricks and their smartness, but now YouTube, Google is exposing them, and and we And we need to continue edifying our people so we could know what is going on. Because remember, the PPP, they are deceivers and they like to deceive people. So you're doing a very good job and you keep it up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling. Let me
You're
answer
welcome.
this next call. Okay. So let me see if I can call back this other person who was calling. Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hello, good evening.
A very pleasant good evening to you. Thank you very much for calling Dr. Matthews-Bey, Voice of the Nation. Go ahead.
It's my it is my pleasure because I love to listen to you, especially on the petition because the election is still on. You know what bothered me?
Uh,
Jagdeo know he don't have the answer concerning about the petition. He know exactly what went on. That make he always have to bring SOP and the and all those spectators. But the reason why I want to call in and say this to all the black lawyers on the coalition side, it is a grace, it is a shame and disgrace on them because what you given out, they could have gone in the constitution too and stop that case to go to CCJs and win that case right in Guyana because the constitution is there for them to represent and represent the people. From the beginning with the no motion 2018. The speaker of the house make a mistake. The first mistake.
no.
Then
Wait, man.
when Papa George.
Here, man. Watch. You can't go back till there. Don't make no sense. We talking about the recount, which is illegal, right? And I want you to know that all these systems that you see taking place here so now, everything that you see that you're calling, complaining about, right, is a de facto. It is designed to fail and fail us miserably. It's hard to say that, but that's the truth. Why do you think I stopped talking about democracy and democratic arms and all these things? Because when you really check it up, democracy is designed to fail us. It's a shadow government. It's designed to take our rights away from us. And although all these things are written in the Constitution, what is democracy? Not to follow them. Because the subjects, which is the citizens of the country, are not knowledgeable of the fact. They are ignorant. So how can you follow the law if the people who the law is designed for are ignorant of the law? You get my point?
Yes, but that's why they have so many lawyers in Guyana. And they're supposed to fight that case right in Guyana, not CC, because the constitution is there, so you're playing. There should not be no recount. Recount come after a president has been swearing, after he has been declared.
No.
That is part of the constitution.
A recount doesn't come after that. The recount comes when the returning officer has declared and someone else has evidence to show that his recount is inaccurate or inadequate with the information provided. That's how the recount, and that's why the recount is unlawful. So even if they had even if they had an elections petition, right? The petition now would have had to state, well, it's either we do one or the other thing. Is either we recount or is either we have a new and fresh election. Simple. Or it's either we swear in the party that has declared the winners of the election.
Well, that one I will go for. Mr. Grinder should swear in and take everything else to court. But Mr. Gringer tell Jagdeo I'm not, I wouldn't say alleged. I heard it from Jagdio Mouth plain during the recount. He said, Mr. Granger, tell him he don't want to sit in office with no illegal vote. I heard it plain what Jagdio said. So that is the reason why he put those guys in office. And those guys take the opportunity and go inside them with illegal vote. Anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for calling to those who are tuning in. And I want to say this. Hold on. I want to say this to all those who are, tuning in and paying attention. This undemocratic, as a matter of fact, this democratic system of democracy, here I say again, is what enslaves the minds of the people. Because here we have the truth printed out in the Constitution, which is supposed to be the supreme law of the corporation of Guyana, not the land, the supreme law of the corporation, the supreme law of the sea, which the ship is docked upon, that has never entered into Guyana. Because if you study the Constitution, the ship is still at the docks. Everybody who come on board the ship is a citizen of that corporation, which is Guyana. That's the ship. And the banks is what does the business of those commercial ships. That's why you say the banks as the bank of the Marara River. The banks that we call the banks now here, Citizens Bank, the Marara Bank, all these are designed under a law of commercial entities that came off the ship. We gotta get a drift of where we are and who we are. So if we are independent and Moorish Americans, all these things you see going now with political parties and politricks, pollies, more blood-sucking ticks, all these people, which seems to be vanished because it wouldn't be there, it would be declared null and void. So these statutes and jurisdictions and venues and adjudication cannot apply to us. What is your status? I'm Moorish American, I'm not Guyanese. That's my status. What are your status? Who gave you authority over me? Where do you live? Who are you? Studying out of the black law books, and I get to realize that a police is a private entity. It's a security force, such as the army. They are a security force. They came off the docks of a ship to secure that ship. As citizens of Guyana, because that's their citizenship. They're not required to police me. I'm a naturalized citizen. I'm a Moorish American. So who gave you rights over me? It is the same thing that's happening now. We got to talk about the elections petition, but yet still, we got two persons, the executive and the opposition, arguing over the representation of the People's Act. One is on the right side and one is on the wrong side, but at the end of the day, both sides are still the same because they belong to a democratic system. It's who best play the game wins. And people's lives are involved in that game. People go to jail because of that game. Then you get to realize that the court system is based upon a game to play you, to say things that you're not supposed to say, that they can try you on it. I don't mind if they interrupt me, program. Let them. The truth prevails at all times, and they don't like it. I know they don't like it. I shall be a scar upon their racial memory. They will never forget Gavin Matthews-Bey. I am a force to reckon with. Anyhow, my zodiac sign told me as a Capricorn, I'm an administrator. When I open my voice, it speaks power to law. Here. So it's impossible for them to adjudicate over you if you are independent of the system, my Aboriginal brothers and sisters. If you stay in the system, this will keep happening to you over and over and over again. And lots of people will die. And then you cannot be represented because they own you. It's simple. How you think Bar Jack Dio cannot give a count for 1,480 Guyanese that died? And he doesn't give a damn because he realized that it's a democratic system that is not designed for them to answer or to give accountability for you. It doesn't. You can kill another 1,400 somebody, and y'all could say cheese on that. Doesn't care. Does not care. And he will show you that he doesn't care at all because you are a product of the system. You belong to the system. They belong to the system too because they gave up their rights. They like to call themselves Indo-Guyanese. So they give up, they belong to the system. They know the system is riding them. So they prefer to be the house slaves and we the cattle slaves. And we arguing and butting and listen to me, all the cases coming and going, but not the elections petition. Can you imagine that? Pick sense out of nonsense. All the cases are coming and going, but not the elections petition. It ain't surfacing. You know why it ain't surfacing? It's going to end up like the Public Service Credit Union board members. You give them a couple $1 million and they swing the hat high and they sit down and got abused out for press conference. Tear down people. Tearing you down. Bringing shame and embarrassment to a professional organization. You cannot believe professionals are operating like that. Because we are in a system that is designed to enslave us. The decisions we make is based upon what the system entailed upon our lives from a baby coming up. So we can't think outside of the box. When leaders think outside of the box, you check it. They call them dictators. They call them anarchists. All kind of things they call them. Because those are the leaders that refuse to accept the capitalist system that comes under the democratic system. Check it. And a lot of people ask the question, well, since, like somebody asked me the other day, since Maduro is still in power, is not recognized by the world and his currencies, how do we survive? Because Venezuela has gold and silver. For me, how to survive? Yes, yes. They have a treasury of gold and silver. That's how they survive. They don't wait for the fiat currency, but now they have to feed the people in the nation with that gold and silver. They can't issue out one by one because they don't have enough. Let me say to you this, Guyanese. As long as we keep depending upon a system that enslaves us, let me say this to you, my Aboriginal people. As long as we keep depending upon a system that has the rights and authority over us, that enslaves us with codes, acts, and statutes, We have no say because we are ignorant. We have no say at all because we are ignorant of such facts. That's a very hard pill to swallow because we don't like people tell us those things. We get vexed. To my Moorish brothers and sisters, to the Moors of the Americas, now is the right time for us to join with all of our Moors throughout the America. Stand with one voice, united as a nation and as a people. If we don't know where we are, find out where we are. Find out who we are. Make a call. Answer the call. Now is the time to stand in strength and in peace and love with each other, to bring our brothers and sisters home that are still in cattle slavery, that are still in the democratic system. They need to find out more about us because they don't know how we exist. They'll be surprised to know how we exist. Now is the right time. Now is the right time to speak out with one voice, united as a people. Let them know time to come out of all the cracks and creases that you are in and join the proclamation. Let everyone hear that you're proclaiming once again who you are. Because a lots of persons doesn't even know. Lots of them. Lots of persons who are born Moors doesn't even know that they're born a Moor. There are lots of them who are living in Guyana. There are lots of them. But I want to say thank you very much to those who have joined in for the past hour and what and a half, and to make this show possible. And thank you very much for sending and sharing the live feed so persons can activate themselves and know what's going on with more knowledge and more wisdom and more comprehension. Black Love to you all. Black Love is a brand that is owned by me, patent by me, and is to say that it is for sale on products like objects and clothing. If you want to be a part of this purchasing to support the cause, I'd be very much appreciated. The number beneath your screen is 592-611-6575. My name is Dr. Matthews-Bey. Thanking you. Stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. B saying good night and Cheerios for now.